Welcome everyone to this week's episode. I am super excited. We're going to do something a little different today. Today is all about Tay Tay. I'm super excited and inspired and empowered just by knowing her. And she has a book coming out. So we just wanted to just kind of share her story because I don't know if we've really dived into our own story. So today we're going to learn all about Taylor, and we'll start like we always start. So Taylor, tell us when you really got that moment of clarity in Jesus in your life.
So I would say that there were 3 moments. They were all separated by a few years, but one was when I was 12, and like I felt really clear on who Jesus is and who he was for me. And then I had another moment at 19 when he was calling me back to him and reminding me of who's that I am, in my bloodline, that is royalty, that is his, when I had been lost in the world for so many years. And so I started this walk with him at 19, and it took me a couple years to learn how to step out of that lukewarm place, even though I was pretty clear on who Jesus was, and who he was in my life for me. I still lived pretty lukewarm. So at the age of 22, it was like 3 years later, I was newly married. I had just moved to Texas from Colorado, and I decided to get baptized. And around the time that I got baptized, I'd also lost this title or this position that I held pretty dear to my heart and my identity, that I worked pretty hard to get to. But at the same time, I also had so much favor from the Lord that got me to that place that I seemed to forget. So I don't know if anyone else has been in that place where, the Lord puts so much favor on you. And yes, you work hard, but at the same time, it's probably his grace that gets you there. And you just kind of forget about his grace that got you there. And you're like, oh, I worked hard. So I kind of struggled with a little bit of that, and just the identity piece of this position and this title in my life and business success. And I got carried away in this business success. And so he stripped me of the title. He said, nope, like we're done with this. And you're going to sit with me and learn again who you are in me. Like, okay. So it was just a quiet, isolated season when I was so used to being in the limelight. Like I was on Zooms all the time. I was at speaking events, just 24/7, like this environment of just constantly being in the limelight. It felt like, in teaching and training and just praise, because it was a company that was it's kind of built around just like praise, and just cheering one another on. And so if I ever post anything on social media, like, I mean, I had like a ton of cheerleaders, in my comments all the time, and just making you feel good, making you feel validated about what you're doing, what you're working towards. And just in text messages, different chats that we had, like I was just in an environment that was centered around praise. And so that was all stripped from me once I lost this title and this position. And so it was really quiet, really isolated season that I needed, because he's like, okay, we're going to start at the foundation, which is me, and we're going to build your life upon this rock, and it's going to be solid. And so it started with just learning him and his voice, which I took Laurie's course, hearing, becoming the one God called. And that helped me better discern God's voice through journaling. And so I'm taking this course, I'm learning to discern God's voice. And at the same time, I also had the opportunity to work with a nutritionist and really learn about what was serving my body and what wasn't, because I was highly addicted to sugar, wine. I loved wine. I loved just candy. Like I literally sound like a 5-year-old, but I would eat Sour Patch Kids for dinner, like with a glass of wine. Like it was terrible. Okay. So he really helped me learn, that this body is my temple and how to better care for myself and just honor myself and honor him in the process. And so, he taught me that. He taught me just a lot of mental shifts and mental clarity, a lot of wisdom that he was just pouring over me, graciously pouring wisdom over me to better understand things around me and just a different perspective on life in general. And so as this is all happening and he's pouring into me all these great things and I'm learning to receive it now because I'd gone through this course to learn about discerning his voice. I was able to start writing this book. And he just said, daughter, write. Like that was just clear from the beginning. Daughter, write. I'm like, okay. And so a little backstory: about a year and a half prior to this moment, I wanted to write a book. I had just randomly gotten like this desire to write a book. And I was in the peak of my success at this other company. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I could easily write a book about how to be successful. It's like makes me laugh now to think about that. And I'm like, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to be a writer. I don't even think I wrote but 2.5 pages into this book, and it just froze. Like I had nothing. Like burnout was real. Like I couldn't think. It was writer's block, right? And I'm like, I don't even know what to write about. Like I really don't. And there was no fire, igniting that. I was just like, okay. And it just sat on my computer, and I finally ended up just deleting it because I'm like, that's not happening. And especially because the trajectory of my life changed so significantly within a matter of months. It was like suddenly you're at the peak of the success, and then suddenly you're like at the bottom, like the rock bottom in success. I'm like, how can I like finish this book when this is the place that I'm in right now? And it was all about success, right? So that ended up just getting deleted, and the dream of writing just kind of like disappeared in my mind until this moment where he's like, daughter, write. I'm like, okay. So I just start, I open up my computer and I just start writing these like ideas that just come to mind. I'm like, alignment and faith, and these bullet points just stand out to me. Health, mental health, spiritual health, all these things. And then I start breaking out these chapters, and I'm like, where's this coming from? Like, I don't even know. And then I just start spilling out words under each of these chapters, and like it's just coming to me. It's coming to me. It's coming to me. I'm like, okay, this is the Lord. This is the Lord's favor in this. He's bringing like stories to my mind. He's bringing experiences to my mind to share, um, and pour out into this book. And it took 2 years, 2 years in the making. Why won't it show?
Put it in front of your face. There we go. Well,
There, is it showing?
no, peek a little bit. There you go.
There we go. 2 years in the making, because there were still so many experiences that I had to go through to finish this book. And I just remember there would be months where I would go without writing anything. And sometimes I'd have doubt fill my head of like, okay, like maybe, it wasn't meant for you to actually write this. Maybe you didn't hear God right. And then as soon as I'd open the document back up and start reading what I'd wrote, I'm like, no, like he did call me to write this. Like when I read this, I'm inspired. Like this is God, in this book. And so I'd go some time, and then suddenly I would go through something, and then it would just come to me like, that needs to be in the book. That needs to be in the book. That needs to be in the book. So, you know, to me, sometimes it felt like it was taking so long. I'm like, it needs to go out already. Oh my goodness, I need to be done with it. I need to be done with it. But these experiences are what made up this book. So this book is called Aligned and Alive, and it's called Aligning Your Life for Fulfillment in Christ. And so we go through in this book, the first chapter is life more than breath. We really just talk about, you know, um, the the importance of life and the purpose of life, and how God just destined us for greatness. And, the sky, the clouds, the trees all have a purpose. Like, why wouldn't you have a purpose? Life is more than just the hustle and bustle of the mundane, 9 to 5 and the rush. And, this world is so loud and so demanding, but, God speaks to us in whispers, and he has so much purpose and intention and detail for our lives. And so that's what we dive into in that chapter, and really just getting quiet and learning to hear God. Then we talk about fueling our fulfillment, which is chapter 2. So, what fuels you? What fuels you? And we talk about certain addictions and things that people struggle with, and the importance of, putting God first over everything. The emotion trap is chapter 3. So getting trapped in our emotions and our impulsiveness. So a lot of times we get trapped in impulsive decision making. 5 is mindful. Sorry, 4 is a fresh perspective. So gaining wisdom, gaining clarity, mindful choices, being, smart in our decisions and our choices, not necessarily just smart, but just really being wise and considerate of every single decision that we make, and bringing God, inviting him into every decision and choice that we make. We talk about habits, and, our habits define us over time. Like, the things that you continuously choose and the things you continuously do, like, you become those things. The people you hang around, the things you listen to, the things you feed yourself with and fuel yourself with, not just food, but, the things you listen to, the things you eat, and then, of course, the things that you speak. Like, those all make up who you are. And so, does it reflect Christ, is the question that we have to ask. We talk about the power of connections and our network, and how we're meant to be pouring into one another. We talk about community aspect, uh, passing on compassion, pouring out God's heart for other people. And then we talk about being creative and allowing God to work through us, through our giftings that he's given to us, and just letting his glory show and shine, because he created you for purpose, and you have so many gifts and talents that he gave to you that you haven't even like ignited yet, because you haven't sat with him and just really honed in on God. Like, work through me as your vessel, and I want to see your glory be revealed in these gifts and talents that you've given to me. And it's just amazing to watch it all unfold. So, aligned and alive, it is about aligning our life to Christ in every single area. So, this book will be out in probably late September. I'm really excited about. And there will also be a course that is coming, tagging along with it. So it's an Aligned and Alive course where we break down the 7 lifestyle pillars. So we have faith, we have our mind, our body, relationships, community, and family, in business, career. So we break down, and it's just a course that's packed full of really insightful lessons and workbook, and just helps you learn to invite God into every single area of your life, because our faith is not a separate entity from the rest of our life. Like, our faith is the foundation of it all. And so we are meant to walk with him in every single pillar of our lifestyle. And so that's kind of what is the what makes up, alignment coaching, and where I got lifestyle improvement and alignment coaching from was based off of this idea of 7 pillars, and just aligned and alive. It kind of all just was a part of this process in coaching and learning this. So it was all through personal experience, and I'm just really excited for what's to come with this, you guys. So yeah, that's kind of been the trajectory change of my life. I had mentioned on another episode prior to this one that in this business prior, I talked all about cosmetics, all about makeup, all about skincare, and I felt really confident in the things that I shared. And I just remember speaking audibly out loud, like, I don't think I could ever do this about Jesus. And I'm pretty sure God laughed in that moment and he said, just wait.
Funny. I do like that. Just the title itself, Aligned and Alive, because being a little bit older than Taylor, we're not going to go there. There's moments in my life where I'm like, I don't feel like I've truly lived. We're not just called, like she said, to, are we more than breath? We're more than breath. Yes, it's God's breath. He gives us life, but he's also called us to live, not to just go through, I go to work and I come home, or maybe have kids. Like I go to work and then I have to deal with the kids when I get home and get them to bed and make sure they have all their things. And then, and just repeat it. We're called to live, to experience all of the goodness of God, and he is in all things. And I love that about Taylor is she takes all of that and like wraps it up for you. She aligns it all for you. Taylor's even my go-to for like the nutritional, the more of the health aspect, because that is not my strong suit. I'll be honest. I know I've gotten a lot better about it, but that's what's so amazing about Taylor is she will help you just get into alignment, because you need to be in alignment with God's plan in order to prosper the way that he's created you to prosper. And the whole 7 pillars is going to help you not only stand that, yes, there's 7 pillars, but they're all intertwined, and that's why you're
Yeah.
aligned and alive. And I'm really excited. Just watching, just being a part of Taylor's life and seeing her grow and seeing this book come. And I think I'm almost as excited as she is, because I've been there from the beginning when she's like, I think I'm supposed to write this book. And I'm like, then
Yes.
do it. Yes, write it. And I think I even remember having a conversation on just her title of like, what kind of coach am I? I do remember
Hmm.
that conversation. And I don't know. I think Taylor's amazing. And if you need someone who's really going to help you open yourself up to just not just the alignment piece, but to live, to really grab hold of who God is calling you to be, and just embracing all of that. So yeah, I can't praise it enough myself. And yes, I've read it. I haven't since she's edited it. I read the first version, but I haven't seen the rest. So I'm excited myself to see how many new stories are in there.
Hey, Lori, we can thank this book for our friendship. And because it was because of this book that I had reached out to you, since you were an author already. And I was like, I want some advice on how to write a book. And then at the time, you were also like, oh, I actually was thinking of you because I wanted some products. And
Yeah,
so we ended up just talking. And now here we are. That was 2.5 years ago. So
yeah, it's crazy.
it was
So
super cool.
yeah, he'll even align you. He aligned our lives to come into. And I just want to also express, don't ever underestimate someone just because they're younger or young, even, because Taylor is literally like my daughter's age. So, and I was sitting here thinking as you were talking too, like Taylor's one of my dearest friends. She really is. And as I thinking about like my closest, dearest friends, 2 of them are my daughter's age. 2 of them are my daughter's age. And so
Age is just a number, right?
exactly, it is. It truly, truly is. So don't ever underestimate. And I don't remember the Bible verse, but there is a verse about, the youth. Don't underestimate what God can do with the youth, especially now, um, in this day and age, because children are waking up to their gifts early, because time
Mhm.
is moving to a place we probably aren't prepared for. I'm not going to go into that deep end, but just know that God has a plan bigger than you can ever imagine. And so if you
Yeah.
really do feel like, okay, feel very scattered, and I feel like I'm not living, I'm just going by, just getting by day after day after day, this is a book that you need
Yeah.
to understand that God has plans for you, mighty, mighty, miraculous plans. You just have to get into alignment with him. and everything will start to change. And Taylor and I have both experienced this in our lives, because it's amazing how, even though my journey started obviously much sooner,
Right.
we find a lot of parallels, because, God is the same as he was yesterday and today and tomorrow. He's always the same. And so
Mm.
you're going to recognize those parallels. And I hope that this podcast that does that same thing, that you see parallels in us and in our guest, and just, how much we love God.
Right. I would say the central theme for not only working with me as a coach, the book, the course is surrender. Like that is the theme of alignment is surrender, because that is the only way that we will be able to see God's ways and see the direction that he wants for us in each area of our life, is to surrender that to him. Whatever it is, surrender it. Like, for instance, with me, with the food, we'll start with that because that's just a clear, easy example. But whenever I started to write and I was working with that nutritionist and just really breaking down like the foods that I was nurturing my body with, or nourishing my body with. It wasn't really nourishing, but I really had to surrender that to him and recognize that this is actually a problem. Like this is actually a problem, the food that I'm eating, and that I'm just so okay with like putting in my body all the time that I'm actually addicted to it. Because I was like, the fact that I would choose a bag of candy over like a wholehearted, a good meal was a problem. So it wasn't just like an every once in a while thing, you guys. Like, so I'm like, okay, so let me sit with this. Let me surrender this to God, because right now I've been so used to this way of life for years now. So I don't know how to do life differently, if that makes sense. This is what we talk about in the book, about how habits, these patterns, they become habits, they become ingrained in us because we are creatures of habit as human beings. And God intended great reason for that, because once we get in the habit of surrendering things to God and just making him priority in our life, that's going to serve us in the long run, because we are creatures of habit. So if we depart from getting in our word, or we depart from like his ways for a few days, a few hours, whatever it may be, you suddenly feel off. You suddenly like, no, this isn't right. And so it'll draw you to go back to what you've made a habit, which is getting in his word, filling yourself with his truth. So there's all good intention, but we, as a fallen world does, everything that was meant for good, we end up using it in the wrong way, and it ends up being, bad for us. So anyways, this habit, I had to surrender this habit to him. And I said, Lord, like, help me nourish my body. Help me desire foods that are good for me. And through prayer and through just like learning different ways to eat and working with that nutritionist to learn different ways of preparing food and documenting what I'm eating, I started to just feel better overall. And I just really had to surrender that area of my life to him. And I've done several sugar fasts. I'm probably about to do another one because I've been feeling the prompting too, like just, fast. And this is the thing about alignment, is it doesn't mean that we're just 24/7, like super strict on ourselves and all these things, right? There's a way around balance that just make sure your priorities are aligned, where God is first and being obedient to him is first. And so if you feel prompted to go on a sugar fast, then go on a sugar fast. If you don't, and then don't, right? Just maybe limit your sugar, or just, hey, does this honor me or not? It doesn't mean that, you're at birthday parties and you're just like, nope, 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 nope. Like, I'm just no to everything. And it's unrealistic, right? Because I've been down that rabbit hole too of idolism. You can idol health. And so I talk about that in the book also. So yeah, there's just a lot of things to learn about surrender. And I just love how the Lord has revealed that to me through experiences, like, hey, this is what I mean by surrendering. Because sometimes I feel like we don't know how. It's like, what do you mean?
Yep. And that's why it's so great to have that communion with God. Like Taylor
Yep.
said, she's like, God, help me to surrender this. And that is, I think, one of the first things besides love and journaling that I would teach people is surrender doesn't always mean you just surrender it once and it's done. Sometimes you have to lay
Right.
the piece down and you pick it back up. But that's okay. Then you
Right.
put it back down. God gives us that grace to set it back down again. Set it back down again. It gets easier
Yep.
and you'll have longer times in between that surrender before you pick it back up. It's like, I guess in a way it's kind of like babies with their pacifiers. You have to kind of wean them off. Let it go. And God does that same thing. He loves us that much that, he allows us to set it at his feet and he takes control of it. And then he lets go when we take it and allows it this back and forth with him. And he's so kind in the way that he does that with us. So,
Yes, absolutely. Yep. So this book will be available for pre-order soon. I'm working out my link for that, but you will be able to find everything. I'm assuming by October, mid-October, all my links should be up and working at faithfulawakening.com, which you can for now for sure follow on Instagram, which all of my stuff is on our notes. So you can follow on Instagram and social media platforms just to be in the know about when all this stuff is officially out. So, but yeah, I'm just really grateful for the Lord's provision and just his plan, because I couldn't have guessed that this is where I would be at all 3 years ago. And I think that's just, we talked about that in our last episode with our last guest, like that we make plans and God laughs sometimes. And he's like, I have so much greater for you, and just buckle your seatbelt kind of thing.
mhm.
So it's pretty cool how that works. But yeah, I'm just grateful for this platform that the Lord blessed us with, and that he just uses this as a vessel, to speak and pour into his children. And he pours into us like every single time we get on here and record.
Mhm.
I'm like, God, even if this isn't reaching like people, it's reaching me and Laurie. So it's
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. So how about one last little thought or maybe something tangible that they could act on today? What would that be?
Mm. So I would say that there's something inside of you that God wants to ignite. And whatever you're in right now, he's using to prepare you. And, even if it seems like it's something that you don't really enjoy, like we can use every single season and every single moment to learn something and say, all right, God, what is this? What are you teaching me right now? What are you preparing me for right now? And just to listen to him. And I would say that that is like first and foremost one of the most helpful things that will get you, that will bring fulfillment to your life, right? It's Jesus, and learning to discern his voice. And you learn to discern his voice through spending time with him and getting quiet. And I know that there's some people out there that feel like they're too busy, number one, to get quiet. You got to make the time. It's so imperative, because you will have so much more clarity about your life when you take the time to get quiet, instead of just endlessly scrolling, or vegging out on Netflix, just because you're so wore out from the week. You will feel so much more re-energized and refueled if you take the time to get quiet with him. You're going to learn so much about him. You're going to learn so much about you and your identity. And I just think that's the biggest takeaway, is learn to get quiet with the Lord and let him show you, because he promised us this Holy Spirit to counsel us and to teach us and show us things. And so ask him to do it. that was one of the biggest things for me. I just started asking him to do these things, and suddenly someone would speak a word to me, you know, Laurie would speak a word to me, and it's like, okay, that was confirmation from the Lord. Or I would open the word up and I would see something in plain sight that was just confirmation of what I just asked. And so you'll start to see these things, and he's going to refine and refine and refine and help you get into more and more of alignment. So I think that's just the first step, is getting quiet with him, journaling, getting to know who God is and who you are in Christ. And you can find some free resources on the social media platforms. I actually have a mini guide to alignment that I just created as a free resource. So you'll definitely have to check that out, because I think it really helps solidify everything that I talked about, just in a nutshell, really small version. I think it's like 15 pages. Great little workbook to go through and just help you align certain pieces of your life and just get a whole like better idea and picture of what this really means overall.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Thank you so much, Taylor. It was fun to just share a little bit more of your story and what's going on in your world. So I hope
Yay.
everybody enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yay.
And I love Tay Tay, so
I love you too.
I'm excited to see what God all does through her, and that's how you really know it's a godly friendship, because
Absolutely.
I know God has big plans for her, and I'm just lucky enough to be alongside her to watch her go through this and experience with her, which calls me like my so if you don't have those kind of people in your world, hit us up, because we will love on you and answer questions. So I just want to also put that out there. You're never alone, even when darkness tries to tell you you are. This is why we do what we do, because you're not alone. So with that, until our next episode, have an amazing, blessed day.